Look, the post-2026 draft landscape for the Minnesota Vikings is absolutely fascinating. Welcome to this detailed explainer, where we are going to unpack the incredibly intricate details of this franchise's multi-year strategy. We're looking way beyond just the upcoming season. We're zeroing right in on the precise roster realities, the impending positional overhauls, and quite frankly, the literal salary cap space miracles that have fundamentally reshaped this organization's entire trajectory for 2027 and well beyond.
But hey, before we get completely lost in the weeds of this massive rebuild, I want to formally welcome you to NFL Nexus. If you love this level of deep dive roster construction, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button on this explainer, and definitely drop a comment down below with your thoughts. And listen, to help support the channel, we highly encourage you to purchase our incredible custom-designed football coloring books. They are absolutely perfect for children, for your grandchildren, and yes, they are incredibly relaxing for adults as well. You can get access to them right now through the link in the description or by simply scanning the QR code right here on your screen.
Okay, to truly understand the future of the Minnesota Vikings, you really must first comprehend the staggering weight of this number, $46 million. This is the exact amount in salary cap space that interim general manager Rob Brzezinski had to clear just to become solvent. We aren't talking about clearing space to sign superstars. No, this was simply to exist within the actual rules of the league. You see, when the previous general manager, Adofo-Mensah, was let go, it was directly tied to the incredibly poor salary cap situation he left behind. And that situation was a direct result of a drastically failed free agency strategy the year prior. The old regime left this front office in an absolute bind. It made Brzezinski's immediate maneuvering nothing short of a financial miracle, just to lay the groundwork for the exact future we are about to discuss today. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. A new front office. 2. Escaping salary cap hell. 3. Future needs on defense. 4. Rebuilding offensive weapons. 5. The quarterback dilemma.
Section 1. A new front office. Brzezinski's vision.
To really grasp where the Vikings are heading, we have to look at the stark contrast between the old and new regimes. Former GM Adofo-Mensah relied really heavily on a free agency focus. And that strategy? It severely handicapped the team's financial flexibility. It completely failed to yield the necessary foundational roster depth. Enter interim GM Rob Brzezinski, who immediately shifted the entire philosophy. Brzezinski deployed a heavily draft-centric, trench-focused approach. Just think about this. Out of his 9 selections, 4 of them were strictly dedicated to the trenches. He didn't try to buy quick fixes, right? He methodically targeted long-term foundational depth.
Let's really break down the exhaustive details of these specific 2026 draft picks, because they tell a fascinating story about the team's priorities. Brzezinski immediately fortified the defensive line with Caleb Banks and Dominique Orange. This injected much-needed, vital young talent right into the interior. Then he grabbed linebacker Jake Golday. And this is an absolutely crucial detail. There is arguably not a better prospect to team fit in the entire draft than Golday stepping into defensive coordinator Brian Flores' aggressive scheme. On the back end, they added Charles Demings in the 5th round to finally inject some youth into that cornerback room. But notice what's missing here. Skill positions were completely, utterly ignored until the very end of the 6th round when they finally took running back Damont Clybourne at pick 198. The priority was the foundation, for sure, not the flash.
Section 2. Escaping salary cap hell, the financial turnaround. And this brilliantly illustrates the exponential growth of the Vikings' cap health. Just look at this progression. Right now, for 2026, after factoring in the draft class, they are projected to sit at a very, very tight $5.33 million in space. But look at 2027, where things start to really open up to an effective $52 million. And then, gaze upon 2028, where the books are wiped incredibly clean, showing over $150 million in projected cap space. The long-term maneuverability they are creating is staggering.
Now let's look at how this builds into the granular accounting of 2027. Because let's be real, raw numbers can be deceiving. The Vikings are projected to have a base of $66.4 million in cap space next year. However, that is only with a 39-man roster limit currently accounted for. And by the way, that includes all the 2026 draft picks and their single undrafted free agent, punter Brett Thorson. To fill those remaining 14 roster spots just to get to a functional baseline, you have to subtract an estimated $14 million. That brings us to $52 million, but we aren't done. You must allocate roughly $20 million for the 2027 draft class, the practice squad, and crucial in-season extensions. A great example? Keeping right tackle Brian O'Neill. When you do all that hard math, the true free agency maneuvering space sits right at $32.4 million. It's a healthy situation, but every single dollar will need to be spent with absolute precision.
Section 3. Future needs on defense. Replacing production.
Let's scrutinize the specific contract timelines for the cornerback room. As long as Brian Flores is the defensive coordinator, this position will perpetually be a major need. Why? Simply because Flores prioritizes pressure up front over investing top-tier resources in the secondary. Look at this impending exodus. Isaiah Rodgers and Dwight McGlothern are free agents after 2026. Byron Murphy Jr. and James Pierre hit free agency after 2027. Aside from fifth-round rookie Charles Demings, the cupboard is incredibly bare. They will constantly be forced to scour the market for discount signings and mid-round draft picks just to patch this unit together.
So the crucial point regarding the edge rusher position is the massive void left by the Jonathan Greener trade. We are talking about losing a reliable 500 snaps, 35 to 40 quarterback pressures, and 6 to 8 sacks. That is elite, high-volume production that has simply vanished from the roster, and replacing that exact level of disruption is going to be one of the absolutely hardest tasks for this new general manager moving forward.
Because when you really look at the current edge rusher depth, it is a borderline crisis. Yes, Dallas Turner is a fantastic player, and assuming his fifth-year option is picked up, he is locked in through 2028. But behind him, Andrew Van Ginkel is a pending free agent after this season. And beyond that, you are relying entirely on Bo Richter and Chaz Chambliss, which is simply not enough to replace Greenard's 500 snaps. The Vikings must quickly fortify this unit, making future draft targets like Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons, and Anthony Smith absolutely vital for us to monitor.
Section 4. Rebuilding offensive weapons, the skill positions.
Now you might be wondering, it sounds kind of crazy to say the Vikings need wide receivers when they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, right? But remember, this is a league dominated by 11 personnel. That means 3 wide receiver sets, and the Vikings ran it over 60% of the time in 2025. If Jefferson or Addison goes down, your only options stepping up are Ty Felton and Miles Price. That is a dangerous lack of depth. This is exactly why the team hosted Juwan Jennings on a visit. They desperately need a prototype who brings actual size and physicality to round out that room, which is a dimension they currently lack entirely. What's really interesting here is the terrifying reality of the tight end void. TJ Hawkinson's contract has officially voided. That leaves a room consisting of Josh Oliver, Ben Urosek, Gavin Bartholomew, and Bryson Nesbitt. And to be completely blunt with you, none of these players are true TE1 material in the modern NFL. The front office totally knew this too. They actively targeted what they called draft unicorns, like Kenyon Sadiq at 18th overall, but they missed out. Because they failed to secure a unicorn in the draft, this position literally leaps to the top of the priority list next offseason, potentially setting up a massive free agency push for a dream target like Kyle Pitts. The running back room is also slated for a complete teardown and rebuild by 2027. Going into the recent draft, the Vikings wisely avoided reaching for a back early. They were holding out hope that a premier talent like Jeremiah Love might fall to them at 18. He didn't. So their granular step-by-step plan is this. Step 1, rigorously evaluate if 6th-round pick DeMonce Claiborne can emerge as a legitimate contributor. Step 2, scour free agency or the trade market for true veteran value. Step 3, heavily target the loaded 2027 draft class, keeping very, very close tabs on fascinating names like Jadon Baugh, Kewan Lacey, and Isaac Brown.
Section 5. The quarterback dilemma, the ultimate choice.
I want to ask all of you watching this directly right now. Who do you think will be the long-term quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings? Seriously, drop your answers in the comments right now, because this single decision will completely define the trajectory of this franchise for the next decade.
We have to dive incredibly deep into this impending camp battle because it's going to be intense. In one corner, you have Kyler Murray. He brings extensive veteran experience and incredibly dynamic, game-breaking mobility. In the other corner, you have J.J. McCarthy. He's holding the high draft pedigree and potentially deeper scheme familiarity. The front office currently has both of these players in the building right now, and this head-to-head competition will absolutely be the singular most crucial factor in determining the future direction of the entire offense.
But what happens if neither Murray nor McCarthy convincingly wins the job and secures the long-term faith of the new GM? Well, the Vikings have massive contingency plans. The upcoming free agency and draft classes are just bursting with incredible potential. Impending free agent Baker Mayfield is a highly viable veteran alternative. Or, if they decide they want to build from the ground up, the draft offers tantalizing, generational targets like Arch Manning and Dante Moore. The Vikings are far from certain to get the right guy initially, but they are incredibly well-positioned with a multitude of high-end options moving forward.
And all of these contingency plans lead us right back to this staggering reality. By the year 2028, this franchise is projected to wield over $150 million in salary cap space.
They will essentially possess a blank canvas. The financial health that Rob Brzezinski has masterfully orchestrated means that whoever is calling the shots will have the ultimate war chest to execute their vision for the roster.
So I leave you with this provocative thought. With over $150 million in cap space looming on the horizon, which general manager will actually earn the right to spend it, and exactly who will be throwing the football when they do? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly deep dive. Please remember to subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this explainer, and grab one of those amazing coloring books for your friends and family using the link below. See you next time.